Welcome, everybody. I'm Prerna Wadhwa, for those of you that don't know me. I'm a certified facilitator and a Talk to the Entities facilitator from Mumbai, India. And with me today is Tracy from United Kingdom.
Hi.
And we have Sakshi here, but Sakshi is just off camera. But she's here. She's here with us in spirit. So hi from Sakshi as well. Um, so what are we talking about today, Tracy? Where should we begin? Like, where should we start this conversation from?
Oh, it'd be great if I unmuted. So coming alive with the beings of light. And for me, I get to start with the changes or spaces that a Talk to the Entities class opens up for your own being and allows you to access like the different energies.
Yeah. So we do this weird thing in Access called Talk to the Entities. It's a specialty class of Access consciousness. And welcome to everyone joining in. Hi, Neetu. Hi, Ankita. And a few other people that I don't know who's joined in because I can't see your names. But hello and welcome, everybody. Uh, and I remember like when I attended my first Talk to the Entities class as a participant, I was shit scared. I was like one of those really paranoid kids, I wouldn't sleep alone. There was a phase of my life where my awareness with entities was so high that I couldn't even sleep with the lights off. Like the lights had to be on. I wouldn't go to the bathroom alone. I wouldn't like, none of those things. I would be so petrified. So when I like talked to the entities was one of the classes that I did quite late. Like I attend so many other classes in Access, and by the time I joined my first talk to the entities class, it was like it gave me this idea and this concept and this notion of there is no need for paranoia, and the more you can relax in this field of entities and then the space of entities, there's so much more that's possible with everything in life. And I often talk about not just being restricted to even entities, because everything in the universe is alive and breathing and is conscious. So one of my greatest takeaways from Talk to the Entities classes and using the tools of it is that having like an easier communication with your house or with your car or with your business or with whatever, right? So if I were to treat everyone and everything as conscious, would I receive more from them than I would say otherwise if I was to treat objects as just inanimate objects or things as just things? So if you look for the consciousness and that seed of consciousness in everything, I have a funny example. Should I share that right now? About how it's contributed and how it continues to contribute. So
Yes.
so I've had this car, okay, it's an SUV, and I've had it for about a year and a half now. And it's a big car, right? It's an SUV. So when I go to work, there's this place where I park my car, and it's parallel parking. It's like packed. It's between two pillars, so I have to like parallel park it, right? So before this car, I had a sedan, so it was like a smaller car. So it was easy to like park it in this parked like this packed place because it's a small place. So for me to put the sedan into that small place, it was easy. But then when I got the SUV, I was like, oh, the place is still small, but the car has become bigger, right? So it would get like more and more difficult for me to park the car. So like a year and a half of me every day when I would go to work, every time I would go to work and I would like struggle. Oh my God, I would go in and out and in and out and in and out. And I would feel so stupid because I actually was so proud of my parallel parking. Like I'm good at parallel parking, and I would struggle. I was like, how do I fit this car here? It doesn't work. Uh, so after a year and a half of having the car, after a year and a half of struggling with it, I was like, 1 second, why don't I ask the car to contribute to me? So I tapped into the consciousness of the car. I was like, and I called my car the Ice Queen. So I was like, Ice Queen, can you please help here? Can you please contribute? I'm sick of, doing this like this front, back, front, back, front, back, and you don't fit into this little packed place. Could you please assist me with this? And I kid you not, like I just like asked the car that, and then my attention directly went to the screen, and there was this bit of small little button that I had not seen for a year and a half on the car screen with that said assisted parking. I was like, what is that? I've never seen that button. So like when I was like, okay, let's try this. I tapped on that assisted parking, and suddenly the steering started moving on its own, and the car like was like, okay, and it started going back. Now the thing is that the car had this technology in it, and I didn't know about it for a year and a half. But that's the thing. And I freaked the fuck out. I was like, oh shit, like what the fuck is happening? And then immediately switched it off because control freak that I am. As oh my god, the car is going to like bump into something or someone. So, hi Pooja. So that was like, it was just like a funny little example of, the sort of stuff that shows up when you're willing to like have a conversation with things and with houses. Um,
Wow.
I was like one of those like, sorry, what were you saying?
No, that's amazing. That's so cool.
And I mean, that's just like one of the ways that, I talk to the entities contributes to me is that it's that notion of, hey, everything in the universe is talking and everything in the universe is alive and everything in the universe wants to contribute to you. But the question is, are you asking? So, and then this like sort of extrapolates into every thing in your life, right? Whether it's the car that you're driving and you're unable to park, whether it's the house and you're unable to open the door lock, in your house, whether it's about your bed being uncomfortable, whether it's about your bank account that keeps dwindling rather than expanding, whether it's about making your life easier in whatever context and whatever situation that may be. So when we talk about beings of light, which is one of those things that we talk about again and talk to the entities classes, and in access consciousness, which are these beings that are committed to consciousness, and they're like these huge beings, and we don't really go into the significance of what they look like and what they show up as and all of that, but like that just want to contribute to you and they just want to contribute to creating more consciousness on earth. um, and there's this bit where if you are someone that has is connected to nature in any way, right? Like if you love connecting with the nature, connecting with earth.
Yeah.
I remember at one of my trips, I was just we had taken a room in one of these hotels that are in the forest, in a mountain in the middle of a forest. So I remember just walking out of my room and there was this garden, and what is that? Those things that you lie down and it swings. I forget what it's called. Those things that you lie down in and it swings. Uh,
Oh, hammock.
so,
I was thinking of a big swing, and I was like, isn't it just a swing?
uh, so I walked out and there was this in the garden. There was this hammock that was tied to two trees. So I was like, oh, and I love anything that swings as a child. It really, I don't know. There's
Mm.
something magical that happens every time I swing. Like I just seem to receive way more when I'm swinging. And I wonder what that has to do with children. Even, when children are constantly crying and you swing children and they just like calm down. So I'm the same even now when I'm 33 years old, swinging a little and I calm
Need to
down.
swing you.
I just sort of like calm down. So uh, I lie down on that hammock and I was like swinging myself, and I was obviously looking up at trees because it's in a forest and it's tied to two trees. And I looked up and I'm swinging and I'm looking up and I'm swinging, and suddenly I just went into this space of complete relaxation and complete ease, like my body and just like and my brain stopped functioning and I stopped like, and I'm someone who is quite anxious in life. Like I'm constantly head tripping. I'm constantly like, what if
Mhm.
this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? So I just like completely relaxed. And I remember seeing like these sparkles in between the tree leaves. And then I just looked at it. I was like, oh, that's funny. There's something up there that's sparkling. So I looked at that sparkling thing, and that sparkling thing and just like became like this bigger, 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 bigger thing till it connected to all the sparkles and all the trees of the forest. And there was like this sense of like this light and this sense of like these beings that just wanted to play and just wanted to be acknowledged and just wanted to be like, hey, just receive from us, like let's just, this is the place where we want to play with you, we want to like co-create with you, we want to like just have fun, just receive. And I remember my entire body coming alive, and becoming one with those sparkles in the trees, and connecting with the forest and connecting with the trees, connecting to the ground. And there was literally no separation between me and all of these things.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And we talk about like how receiving is one of the easiest things in life to do and to be, and yet it's also one of the most difficult things to teach. So for me to, or for anyone on earth to teach anybody to receive is such a hard thing. But then when you put yourself, in a situation where you are connected to nature, you are connected to beings of light, you are connected to the earth, they really teach you how to receive. All you have to do is ask, like, hey, can you teach me what is receiving? Can you show me what is receiving? Can you show me the nut bolts of how this works? Universe, show me what is
Yeah.
receiving. Things of light, show me what is receiving. And like it's one of those remarkable, and like here's the thing, right? Like the reason why I love using access consciousness tools is it makes it so pragmatically easy. It's not complicated. It's not about head tripping. It's not about, oh, you have to do step one and then step two and then step three. It's just like ask a question and the possibilities start showing up. Like it's as easy as asking a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. I found for me that my receiving levels exploded with Talk to the Entities. I've been doing Access since 2018, and I only chose, like, I had the money to choose Talk to the Entities, but for some reason I wasn't choosing it. Every time I looked at it, I was like, no, no, no. As soon as they changed the manual last year, was it last year or the year before? Last year.
Last year,
Yeah.
something like that. Something like
Yeah. Well, as soon as they changed the manual, I did it. I literally was on the first class for Talk to the Entities, and I literally melted. I lit like my whole body, like I started off, even the whole class, like you could see us on Zoom. We all started off sitting up really tense, really like, oh, this is like Talk to the Entities, heavy, significant, but it was so light, it was so soft. Like my whole body and being just softened and melted like butter. And everything. And the first year that I chose it, I chose 3 classes, and with each one, something changed. There was like a fluidity, like an opening, almost like a flower, but just yeah, just receiving in all areas of my life have changed massively, and even my body changed. Like it stopped being so hard and stressy. I literally started to relax, and now I mean, I do have capacities with entities and the demons and people who've passed away and things like that. And there is so much more to play with. Like now I'm tapping into like the nature spirits, like you were saying. And they love to like drop sprinkle bombs on my body and contribute. And they love to make me laugh when I go for a walk. And when I do childlike things like playing with bubbles, I love playing with bubbles.
yeah.
And then they come out to play. And even I got bought some flowers and I took pictures with, because they were so playful and there were so many entities around, the flower fairies and things. So yeah, Talk to the Entities literally allowed me to melt into my life. And my receiving, like even with money, like I receive money so easily. All I have to do is ask or think about it, and it happens. Like everything has changed since choosing the class. And I think the biggest contribution is my energy, my being has like literally just softened so much and melted into a space, and there's no fear, there's just wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the class is really something. Energetically, like I get that, it would be great if it was like one of the first classes you choose, because it really is such a contribution.
Yeah. and
And it's
and
one of the last that we choose.
one of the last we choose, I know. And thank you so much for bringing up the new manual, because we haven't had this conversation before about the new manual. So I just wanted to share my bit about as well. Like when I became an access consciousness talk to the entity, wait, a talk to the entity certified facilitator. was the year, not the last year, the year before that. And I remember it, and that was my first TT, first CF training that I did with Shannon, first talk to the entities facilitator training that I did with Shannon. And I remember sitting in that, I was attending it live. I remember attending that class live, and I just had this idea in my head, or this thing that just dropped into my head. And I was like, I'm not going to facilitate this class with this manual. I was the funniest thing because at that point of time, there was no talk of the manual being rewritten or she's going to change the manual or anything. We attended the full first facilitator training. And I was like, I'm not going to facilitate with this manual. It's not going to happen. I was the weirdest, strangest thing for me to have that awareness of. And
Wow, what did
I
you
felt,
know?
yeah, and I was just like, what is this? Like, what is this? And no one even spoke about the manual. Like, there was not much conversation about the manual in terms of it changing. And then 4 months or 5 months after that, Shannon announced, "Hey, I'm doing a rewrite of the manual, and all the TT certified facilitator, you all have to attend the beginning again, and this is going to be a rewrite of the manual." And my entire body lit up, and I was like, "Of course, it's going to be rewritten." I mean, and for 4 months, I didn't facilitate a talk to the entities class because, for me, I was still energetically somewhere in my universe waiting for the new manual to show up. So even with the old manual, I never announced to talk to the entities class. I was like, yeah, I wasn't even stressed. I was like, maybe later we'll see, we'll think about it. And then when she announced and when the new manual came out, and I was like, oh my God, this manual is brilliant in terms of how it just melts your universe, and exactly like what you said. Like, it was so much easier on the body to attend and facilitate. You have something to say. What do you want to say?
No, I was saying, thinking that there is, I mean, I think even Shannon mentioned it when she first created the manual. It was very fear-based, and she had to persuade people to choose it and, change the energetics of our communion with entities. And the energy has shifted dynamically. And I get that's one of the reasons I didn't choose it, because I kept thinking, why am I not choosing it? And then I just trust it. And it's literally, as soon as the manual changed, I was the first class that year I just jumped on. I was just like, wow. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's such a huge difference in the energy of the class now than how
And
it was.
like the bit that came out in the rewrite of the manual was this fourth bit that wasn't part of the manual in the earlier one, which is called cooperation, with entities and beings of light and all of that, right? Like, that was never part of the manual earlier. So when it came out, it was like, and I don't mean to blow my own horn. I don't know if that's a saying, blow my own horn, but like, I just was like,
Yes, it is.
but I was like, of course, cooperation, because that's where I predominantly function from when it comes to entities or beings of light or elementals or quantum entanglements or the universe. My first go to energy with, or the go to place where I deal or where I function from, is cooperation. And it's one of the more, it's a really advanced topic that got introduced right now, like in the new manual, which wasn't available in the earlier manual. But it's also one of the, for me at least, one of the easiest things to do in life is to cooperate with the kingdom of entities and spirits. And like, like I always say, it's easier for me to deal with entities than it is for me to deal with human beings. Like, it's just so much more ease with that. So, being, I mean, like, to facilitate a talk to the entities class, first and foremost, for me, is an honor and a privilege, because it's looked at as one of the most complicated areas of life, but it's actually the easiest if you just step into it, and if you just realize that if ease is something of value to you at all, then talk to the entities is one of those classes that will empower you more than any other class to choose ease. Like, to really step into your own, to really trust your knowing, because in this specialty class, you've got to learn to trust your knowing. You've got to learn to trust your knowing. I mean, that's one of the things. Like, you can't come away from a talk to the entities class and still doubt your knowing and your awareness, because then it doesn't work. So if you are somebody that doesn't, not you, I mean, if whoever's listening, if you are somebody that has doubts with trusting your awareness or trusting your knowing or knowing what's true for you, and if you don't trust what are you aware of about the future that logically makes no sense in this reality, but is very much true, that you can bring into the reality by you choosing to trust that knowing. I don't know if that even made sense, but like trusting that what you know is possible, and like pulling that into existence. And that first begins with trusting yourself and trusting your knowing and trusting your perceiving and trusting your receiving. And trust me when I say, one of the classes that really pushes you out of your comfort zone and really pushes you into the unknown, but in a way that is very, very liberating, is Talk to the Entities, for me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, and I mean, yeah, yeah. So we have a class that's starting on 21st January, which is a Talk to the Entities beginning class. So we have an introduction for which the introduction is on 21st, and there are no prerequisites, which I just found out thanks to Sakshi, that you don't need to have done anything to attend the introduction. So if you would like to attend the introduction, that's happening on 21st Jan. And if any of you would really like to take a deep dive and go even further than you've ever gone before, this could be a repetition of of this class that you've already done, or it could be the first time. I wonder what magic we can weave with this beginning class that's coming up, because we have so much conversation already about elementals and quantum entanglements. So there's so much more available to Talk to the Entities than just dead spirits or dead, like going so much more, like a wider scope of really beyond the known, like going into the unknown and coming alive
Yeah.
with these of lights. So
Yeah, and it's also a new year, isn't it? It's 2022 and the energy has changed dynamically. So I wonder what space is available now for us to playing with entities.
yeah, and I wonder what's possible with coming alive with beings of light and knowing what they know and receiving from them and connecting to them and cooperating with them and creating magic and weaving magic and being magic, and for me, that begins with Talk to the Entities. So the beginning class starts on 22nd January. The prerequisite for that is access bars, and an introduction is also compulsory. So if any of you would like to hop on, Tracy is the one to connect with. We have Sakshi, you can connect with her. Hi Harish Chi, how are you? And thank you so much for everyone that joined us for this live. And thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Sakshi. And
Thank
bye.
you. It's been brilliant.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.